January 1st, 2018. The world enters a new year not with a sense of peace, but with a growing frantic realization that the digital utopianism of the last decade was a lie. We are living in the era of the algorithm, where the invisible threads of code that connect us have begun to strangle our sense of reality. In the high-rise offices of Menlo Park, the secrets of our private lives are being traded like oil, while in the DMZ of the Korean Peninsula, a nuclear-armed standoff is reaching a fever pitch that threatens to vaporize the long piece of Asia. This isn't just a year of news cycles, it is the year of the great unmasking. From the deep-sea caves of Thailand to the scorched suburbs of California, 2018 is the year the physical world strikes back against our digital distractions. It is the year we learn that data is the new plutonium, a source of immense power that can melt down the very foundations of democracy. The facade is cracking, the servers are overheating. The world context of 2018 is the fractured network. This is the year the global village officially turns into a global arena. The post-war consensus is no longer just fading, it is being actively dismantled. Economically, the world is experiencing a sugar high from tax cuts and debt, but the trade war has become the new global baseline. This is the year tariff becomes a household word, as the US and China begin a tectonic decoupling that threatens to tear apart the integrated supply chains of the last 30 years. Technologically, we are in the post-truth transition. The release of deepfake technology into the wild signals the end of human vision as a reliable source of truth. We are obsessed with Fortnite and the attention economy, spending billions of hours in virtual worlds while our real-world infrastructure begins to show the strain of a century of neglect. 5G is the new space race, a silent battle for the digital nervous system of the future. Culturally, the mood is exhausted outrage. We are living in the attention peak, where every smartphone notification is a tactical strike on our dopamine systems. The Me Too movement, having ignited in late 2017, reaches a systemic flashpoint in 2018, transforming from a hashtag into a global purge of toxic power structures. The context of 2018 is a planet that is hyper-connected but fundamentally alone, watching its institutions, from the Catholic Church to Facebook, collapse under the weight of their own secrets. It is a world where privacy is a luxury, truth is a commodity, and the only constant is the relentless 280-character rhythm of the digital town square. The spark that fundamentally changed the trajectory of the 2010s occurred in March 2018. The Cambridge Analytica expose was the Chernobyl of big tech. It was the inciting event because it shattered the illusion that social media was a neutral tool for connection. For the first time, the global public saw the wiring of the matrix, how the personal data of 87 million users had been harvested, weaponized, and used to manipulate the psychological landscape of entire nations. This wasn't just a privacy leak, it was a democratic crisis. It forced a global reckoning with the business model of surveillance. The sight of Mark Zuckerberg sitting in a booster seat before the US Congress, trying to explain how the internet works to a group of octogenarians, became the definitive image of the year. It triggered the techlash, a massive global pivot in how we view the Silicon Valley giants. Suddenly, big tech was no longer the disruptor. It was the new tobacco. The Cambridge Analytica scandal changed the lens of 2018. Every election that followed, from Brazil to the US midterms, was viewed through the lens of micro-targeting and psychological warfare. It led directly to the implementation of GDPR in Europe, the most significant privacy law in history, and forced a total reevaluation of the social contract in the digital age. This inciting event ensured that 2018 would be remembered as the year we realized that our free services had a price that we could no longer afford to pay. It was the moment the user realized they were actually the product. Politics in 2018 was a high-stakes theater of disruptive symmetry. The defining political event was the Singapore summit between Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un. For the first time in history, a sitting US president met with the leader of North Korea. It was a geopolitical fever dream, a surreal spectacle of flags and handshakes that briefly lowered the nuclear temperature while leaving the world wondering if it was a breakthrough or a photo op for autocrats. But the chaos wasn't limited to the Pacific. In Europe, the Gilets jaunes, or yellow vest, protests in France transformed the streets of Paris into a war zone, proving that the anti-establishment fury of 2016 was not a fluke, but a permanent feature of the modern landscape. In the UK, the Brexit limbo turned into a slow-motion car crash, as Theresa May's Chequers plan led to a series of high-profile resignations that signaled the coming collapse of her government. Meanwhile, the new strongman archetype reached its peak. In Brazil, the election of Jair Bolsonaro signaled a hard-right pivot for the world's fourth-largest democracy. In China, Xi Jinping abolished presidential term limits, effectively declaring himself leader for life and signaling the end of the reform and opening era. 2018 was the year that norms were treated as suggestions. It was a political map defined by maximum pressure campaigns and personal diplomacy, where the institutions of the state were increasingly bypassed by the whims of the leaders. The political event of 2018 was the death of predictability. Socially, 2018 was the year of collective breath-holding. The primary social event was the Tam Luang Cave rescue in Thailand. For 18 days, the world stopped as 12 young boys and their football coach were trapped in a flooded cave system. It was a global campfire moment, a rare, unifying event where the world's highest technology and its bravest divers converged on a single point of human hope. It was a social win that reminded us that we could still work together across borders when the stakes were purely human. In culture, the mood was the year of the new hero. Black Panther became a cultural phenomenon, grossing over $1 billion and proving that the global audience was hungry for diverse, complex mythologies. It was the cinema of inclusion, a high-definition rejection of the old Hollywood gatekeeping. Simultaneously, the royal wedding of Prince Harry and Meghan Markle provided a final, glossy moment of analog spectacle, a brief escape into a fairy tale that was already being dismantled by the tabloids. But the social fabric was also being rewired by the short-form revolution. 2018 was the year TikTok, having merged with Musical.ly, began its global conquest, transforming the internet aesthetic into a 15-second loop of dance and irony. At the same time, the social outcry over family separations at the US border created a moral flashpoint, as the sounds of crying children became a digital anthem for a world that felt it was losing its humanity. 2018 was a year of deep dives into caves and short bursts of digital content, a society trying to find its soul in a cave while losing its mind on a screen. As 2018 entered its second half, the atmospheric pressure of the world escalated into a series of hard truths. The defining escalation was the campfire in California. It wasn't just a wildfire, it was a city killer. The town of Paradise was erased in hours, creating climate refugees in the world's wealthiest state. The escalation was the realization that fire season had turned into fire forever, a direct result of a planet that had moved past a tipping point. Geopolitically, the escalation was the Khashoggi assassination in the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. This was a low-tech horror in a high-tech world. The brutal killing of a journalist became a diplomatic flashpoint that exposed the transaction of silence between Western powers and oil-rich autocracies. It escalated the global war on truth, proving that the red lines of the past were now easily crossed by those with enough leverage. Simultaneously, the trade war escalated into a tech war with the arrest of Huawei CFO Meng Wanzhou in Canada. This was the new Cold War coming to life, an escalation that proved the digital world was the new primary battlefield for global supremacy. Every problem was now accelerating. The fires were hotter, the political murders were more brazen, and the economic decoupling was becoming permanent. By the end of 2018, the world felt like it was running red lights. The momentum was toward a total systemic stress test, where the old alliances were being burned as fuel for the new nationalist fires. Despite the friction, 2018 was a year of absolute engineering audacity. The greatest high was the maiden flight of the Falcon Heavy. Seeing a private rocket launch a red Tesla into orbit, while its two side boosters performed a simultaneous vertical landing back on Earth, was a high of the imagination. It was a science fiction reality that proved the space economy was no longer a dream of the future, but a business of the present. In the world of biology, 2018 saw the high of the gene-edited twins announcement. While ethically controversial, it was a scientific supernova, the first time the human germline had been edited using CRISPR. It was a high that promised a future without genetic disease, while simultaneously opening a Pandora's box of existential questions. Simultaneously, AlphaFold by Google DeepMind predicted the 3D shapes of proteins, a high of AI that promised to compress decades of drug discovery into days. In sports, the 2018 World Cup in Russia provided a moment of high drama. France's victory with a young, diverse squad was a high of integration, a rare moment where a multicultural vision of a nation was celebrated on the world's biggest stage. We also saw the high of the InSight lander touching down on Mars, beginning its mission to listen to the heartbeat of another world. These highs took society forward because they were triumphs of the impossible. They were moments where human grit and silicon-based logic combined to overcome the gravity of our problems. People believed that if we could land boosters on a dime and edit the very code of life, then surely we could engineer our way out of the climate and political storms. It was the high of the Homo Deus, where our technology seemed to be outstripping our wisdom at a record pace. The lows of 2018 were defined by institutional betrayal. The low point of the year was the clerical abuse scandal in the Catholic Church, specifically the Pennsylvania grand jury report. It exposed a decades-long cover-up of the systematic abuse of thousands of children. This was a low of the spirit, the realization that the most sacred institutions had been the most sacrilegious. It moved society toward a permanent skepticism that we are still grappling with today. In the US, the low was Parkland. The shooting at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School on Valentine's Day was a social trauma that gave birth to the March for Our Lives. This was a low of protection, the moment a generation of students realized they were the target audience for a political stalemate they didn't create. The lows were also found in the Yemen famine, where 14 million people were pushed to the brink of starvation in a forgotten war fueled by Western weapons. Economically, the low was the crypto crash of 2018, where Bitcoin lost 80% of its value, wiping out the digital dreams of millions who thought they had found a shortcut to wealth. But the deepest low was the death of the last northern white male rhino, Sudan. His passing was a low of the Anthropocene, a silent biological goodbye that served as a mirror for our extinction debt. These lows moved society in the wrong direction by entrenching hopelessness and division. We moved further away from truth and closer to tribalism. 2018 ended with a ledger of loss that showed we were a technologically divine, spiritually bankrupt species. The damage was permanent and structural, creating a cracked foundation for the decade to come. It was the year we realized that our high-definition world was built on a very low-resolution sense of morality. 2018 will be remembered as the year the open world finally closed. It was the historical turning point where data sovereignty and digital borders became the new walls. It mattered because it was the year we stopped trusting our tools and started fearing our screens. We learned that privacy was not a feature, but a right we had already lost. This year saw the death of the centrist dream, the idea that we could all get along in a global marketplace without addressing the digital inequality at its core. Why was it a turning point? Because it marked the inauguration of the techlash. It reshaped history by forcing a great unplugging from the utopian myths of the 2010s. What ended was the age of innocent clicking. What began was the age of cyber-realism, where we realized that every like was a vote for a system we couldn't control. 2018 reshaped history by proving that democracy could be hacked by an algorithm as easily as a computer. It was the year we stopped being connected and started being targeted. The impact of 2018 is the structural reality of our 2026 lives. The AI safety regulations and personal data ownership laws we now rely on were born in the wreckage of the Cambridge Analytica scandal. The Splinternet, the divided digital world between the US, China, and Europe, was a direct result of the tech war that escalated in 2018. We see the impact in our climate resilience programs, which were only funded after the campfire proved that paradise could burn in a day. However, we also see the darker impact. The deepfake uncertainty that plagues our current elections was born in the AI labs of 2018. The polarization of our digital square, where outrage is the only currency, was solidified by the algorithms that were unmasked that year. We live in a world of permanent surveillance and algorithmic nudging, a reality we first saw the source code of in 2018. 2018 taught us that the future wasn't a gift. It was a battlefield. We are the survivors of that unmasking, navigating a world where the truth is a premium feature we are still trying to afford. 2018 was the year the digital dream became a data nightmare. It was a year of Falcon Heavy highs and Cambridge Analytica lows. A year that showed us we could save boys from a cave but couldn't save our truth from a troll. We entered it thinking we were users, and we left it realizing we were exposed. The exposure of 2018 is complete, but the great decoupling of 2019 is just around the corner. If this year surprised you, challenged what you thought you knew, or reminded you of something you lived through, leave a comment with what it meant to you. If this series helps you understand the present through the past, consider liking the video. And if you want every year exposed, subscribe to the channel. History isn't just something we watch, it's something we interpret, and something many of us lived through. Another year exposed is coming soon. Turn on notifications so you don't miss the next chapter.